Human High Command orders us to bring you pleasure. Sci-Fi HFY stories, HFY tales. In the year 3064, humanity had conquered the stars. Our ships sailed through the vastness of the galaxy, our empire sprawling across countless star systems. We were no longer the weak species that had once crawled out of Earth's oceans. We were the pinnacle of evolution, the dominant force in the universe. However, as much as we had expanded, our presence had drawn the attention of numerous alien species, many of whom viewed us as an oddity, something strange yet undeniably fascinating. None more so than the mysterious and ancient Valerians, a species far older than humans. The Valerians had achieved technological prowess that was beyond anything humanity could even dream of. They controlled an empire of their own, and their culture was rich with customs, rituals, and desires that many would consider unconventional. Our first encounter with them had been a shock. The Valerians, known for their stoic ways and severe cultural boundaries, had sent an emissary to our space. His name was Lyskal, and he arrived with an unsettling air of authority. His words were simple but direct. The High Command of the Valerians has ordered me to inform you that your species, humanity, has something we desire. The request was not for technology or resources. It was something far more personal. We wish for you to bring us pleasure, Lyskal had said, his cold eyes glinting with something deeper. The High Command has seen something in your people, a unique energy, a raw vitality that is unlike anything we have encountered. We have decided that you will provide us with what we need to continue our rituals. You will be our chosen providers. This, of course, was not the kind of request humans usually made of others. But the Valerians were a powerful force, and their influence could reshape the galaxy itself. Resistance was not an option, especially not for a young and rising human empire like ours. The High Command gave the order. I was one of the first to be chosen to fulfill this mission. The Valerians believed that only those who embodied human energy and vitality, individuals who were truly alive with emotion and vigor, could bring them the pleasure they sought. I have been trained for many things, but this was a new experience. When I arrived on the Valorian ship, I was struck by the sheer grandeur of it. It was a floating palace, with walls that shimmered like liquid metal. The Valerians, with their elegant, ethereal forms, seemed to glide through the corridors with a sense of purpose and grace that made me feel small in comparison. Their culture was one of beauty, art, and rituals that had been passed down for millennia. But beneath their refined exterior, there was a hidden desire, a hunger for something more. And so, I performed my role. I gave them what they wanted, what they had come to Earth searching for. The Valerians were not interested in the typical pleasures of flesh that humans were familiar with. No, they sought something deeper, a connection, a shared energy that transcended the physical world. It was an experience unlike anything I had ever known, a blend of mind, body, and soul that left both sides changed forever. With every encounter, the Valerians grew more fascinated by humanity. They marveled at our unrestrained emotions, our will to survive, our ability to experience joy and pain with equal fervor. They found something in us that their own civilization had long since lost, passion. And I, too, found something in them. Beneath their stoic exteriors, they were not as cold as they appeared. The rituals that I once thought of as strange and foreign became something more profound, a dance of trust and understanding between two species. Over time, the Valerians began to change. They softened, not just toward humanity, but toward each other. The High Command, which had once been a distant, unyielding force, began to reconsider its stance on many things. Perhaps humanity was not just a tool to fulfill their desires, but an equal partner in the grand dance of the universe. We were no longer just a species in the galaxy. We had become something more, a beacon of life, a symbol of vitality, an embodiment of all the things that the Valerians had lost in their long existence. In the end, what started as an order from the High Command transformed into something far greater. Humanity had not only survived the encounter, but we had thrived. We had brought pleasure, yes, but also understanding, connection, and a renewal of life itself. The galaxy had never been the same. And as for me, I would never look at the stars the same way again. Human High Command orders us to bring you pleasure. Sci-Fi HFY stories, HFY tales, continued. Months had passed since the first encounters with the Valerians. The humans who had been chosen for this mission, for lack of a better word, had begun to return, sharing stories of the profound transformations that had taken place. The High Command watched these reports closely, assessing the impact our interactions had not just on the Valerians, but on humanity as well. I was one of the first to return from the Valorian flagship, carrying with me not only the strange, intimate knowledge of their rituals but also a new perspective on the nature of pleasure and connection. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional, mental, spiritual. For the first time, I felt a bond with another species that transcended the usual boundaries of alliance or trade. It was something far more primal. And yet, there was no denying it, the Valerians had begun to change, but so had we. The unique connection we shared with them sparked a shift in the human race. The High Command took note of this shift. We were no longer simply a species struggling to survive in a galaxy full of ancient powers. We had found our place among them. We had become a force to be reckoned with in a way we never had before. The Valerians' hunger for our vitality had ignited a long-dormant fire within us. We were no longer the timid explorers at the mercy of older civilizations. Instead, we had become something more, an apex species in our own right. But not all was as peaceful as it seemed. There were murmurs of dissent within the ranks of both humans and Valerians. The High Command, despite its newfound appreciation for humanity, had grown increasingly uneasy about the power we now wielded, and the Valerians, though transformed by our connection, were not as unified as they had appeared. Some factions within their ranks began to question the wisdom of their High Command's decision to embrace humanity so openly. A faction of younger Valerians, emboldened by their interaction with humans, began to push for even more radical changes. They wanted a deeper, more permanent fusion between our species, one that would bind us together not just through rituals of pleasure, but through genetic and psychic unions. I was summoned back to the Valorian capital, once again at the High Command's request, but this time, there was an undercurrent of tension in the air. The elders of the Valorian race feared that humanity had become too powerful, too entwined in their culture. They feared that we might someday surpass them, take the power they had so carefully guarded for eons. As I stood in the grand chamber, the glowing spires of the Valorian city stretching up into the stars, the High Command addressed me directly. "Human," said Lyskal, the same emissary who had once told me about their desires, his voice now tinged with uncertainty. "You and your people have changed us in ways we did not foresee. You have brought us a new way of thinking, a new way of being, but now, you must choose. Will you allow us to continue our rituals, to remain as we are, or will you push for something deeper, something that could bind our races forever?" I had come to understand the Valerians well, their need for control, their fear of losing their identity in the face of our energy. It was palpable, yet, the humans I knew were no longer the desperate explorers of the past. We had gained something valuable, the ability to thrive, to innovate, to create. The High Command's fear of us was only a reflection of the respect they had for our species. I stepped forward, choosing my words carefully. "Humanity doesn't need to change you, we simply need to walk alongside you. We offer our strength and passion, but we don't seek to dominate. Let us be partners, not masters. Our power comes from our diversity, from our ability to adapt and grow. We'll build a future together, not as subjugated allies, but as equals." For a moment, there was silence in the chamber. Then, Lyskal nodded, his eyes reflecting a deep, complicated emotion. "Perhaps you are right," he said, his tone far more measured than it had been in the past. "Perhaps our future lies not in domination, but in collaboration." In the weeks that followed, the Valorian High Command began to change its approach. They acknowledged that their culture had become stagnant, and that humanity's unpredictable nature could provide the spark they needed. Slowly but surely, a new alliance was forged, one that blended both races' strengths. Humanity and the Valerians would stand together, but not as equals in the traditional sense. Instead, we would become partners, each offering what the other lacked. Where the Valerians had knowledge, stability, and ancient wisdom, humanity would bring innovation, passion, and a drive to push the limits of what was possible. And so, as the first human Valorian colony ship launched to explore new systems together, we looked up to the stars with a renewed sense of purpose. The galaxy had changed, and we, humanity, had finally found our place at the center of it. No longer a species that feared the unknown, We were now a force that shaped the future. The High Command had given us the order to bring pleasure, and we had done so, but in the process, we had brought something far greater, a new era of cooperation, understanding, and a shared destiny between two worlds. The universe was ours to shape, and nothing could stop us. Human High Command orders us to bring you pleasure. Sci-Fi HFY stories, HFY tales, continued. The newfound alliance between humanity and the Valerians had sparked a chain reaction across the galaxy. Our victory was not simply one of survival or domination, but a testament to the power of unity in the face of uncertainty. The universe, once fragmented by power struggles and mistrust, now held the potential for something much greater, the beginning of a new age of exploration and discovery. For many, the concept of what we had created, an unprecedented partnership between two vastly different species, was nothing short of miraculous. But as with any shift in the balance of power, challenges arose. Not everyone agreed with the new alliance. Within the Valorian ranks, a faction still harbored deep distrust toward humanity, believing that the High Command had made a grave mistake by embracing us so wholeheartedly. They argued that the Valerians had weakened themselves, allowing humanity's unpredictable energy to corrupt their once immaculate culture. This splinter group, calling themselves the Vardek, sought to sever the ties between our two peoples and return the Valerians to their ancient ways. In response, the human leadership, aware of the fragile nature of the alliance, began to grow more cautious. The High Command issued new orders. We were to remain vigilant, to ensure that the partnership did not devolve into chaos. As a precaution, the first joint human Valorian fleet was dispatched to explore a distant region of space, far from the influences of both factions. It was a peacekeeping mission, designed to prove that unity could endure under the most challenging circumstances. I was chosen to lead the mission, not because of my status but because of my unique connection with the Valerians. Having spent months among them, I had earned their trust and respect. More importantly, I had come to understand the delicate balance that now defined our relationship. As our fleet entered the unexplored sector, we encountered strange phenomena. Uncharted planets, whose atmospheres shimmered with unexplainable energy fields, and asteroid belts whose geometry defied all known laws of physics. But nothing could have prepared us for what awaited us on the edge of a nebula, hidden behind a veil of cosmic dust. A massive, ancient ship drifted there, abandoned and forgotten by all who had passed before us. Its size dwarfed even the largest Valorian vessels, and its origins were unclear. The strange technology it possessed was unlike anything the Valorians or humans had ever seen. It was then that I realized, the Vardek had not been simply biding their time. They had known about this ship for centuries. This ship, which contained knowledge beyond any mortal comprehension, had been the key to the Vardek's true intentions. They sought to unlock the ship's secrets, to harness its power for themselves, and to return the Valorian Empire to its former glory, without humanity's interference. We had stumbled upon the heart of their plan. I convened a meeting with the fleet commanders and the Valorian representatives aboard the flagship. The decision was made. We could no longer remain neutral in the conflict between the Vardek and the High Command. We had to act, and act fast. As our ships surrounded the ancient vessel, I was struck by the eerie silence that hung in the air. The Vardek had already begun their excavation. They had uncovered a series of crystalline devices that pulsed with energy, drawing power from the core of the ship. These devices, when activated, could manipulate space itself, bending time and reality. If the Vardek succeeded in activating the ship's core, they would gain unimaginable power. They would become unstoppable, and humanity's place in the galaxy would be irrevocably altered. This was not a power we could afford to let fall into the wrong hands. I turned to Lyskal, who stood beside me in the command center, his expression grim. The High Command didn't foresee this, he said quietly, but they should have. The Vardek are using this technology to manipulate not just the galaxy's laws, but the very nature of our existence. I nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on me. This mission, which had once been about peace and unity, was now about survival. The battle was inevitable. As the fleet prepared for an assault on the Vardek stronghold, I was contacted by an unexpected figure, a high-ranking Vardek officer who had defected to our side. She spoke in hushed tones, her voice filled with urgency. If you attack, you'll be playing into their hands. The Vardek's true plan is to use the ship's technology to create a singularity, a rift in space that will rewrite the laws of the universe. They intend to control the outcome of all events, past, present, and future. I paused, trying to process the implications. If we don't stop them, they'll create a reality where they alone hold power. Yes, she confirmed. And humanity will no longer be part of the equation. You'll be erased from existence as though you never existed. With that knowledge, the stakes had never been higher. We made our move. A joint human-Valorian strike force launched toward the ancient ship, fighting their way through Vardek defenses. It was a battle not only for control of the ship but for the very fate of the galaxy itself. As I boarded the ship with a small group of elite soldiers, we encountered the heart of the technology, a massive crystalline structure at the core of the vessel. The Vardek had already begun the activation sequence. Time seemed to slow as we approached the device. The air crackled with energy, and the space around us warped and bent as if the fabric of the universe itself was being torn apart. In that moment, I knew that only one choice remained. I took a deep breath, and with a final, desperate push, I activated the failsafe that the Valorians had secretly embedded in the ship's core, a failsafe designed to disrupt the singularity and collapse the ship's power. The explosion was blinding. In an instant, the ancient vessel's power imploded, sending shockwaves through the entire sector. The Vardek forces were thrown into chaos, their ambitions shattered. When the smoke cleared, the ship was gone, reduced to nothing more than cosmic dust. The galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief. Humanity had not only survived but had secured its place among the stars, unwavering, unbroken. The Valorians and humans stood together once more, stronger than ever before. Human High Command orders us to bring you pleasure. Sci-Fi HFY stories, HFY tales, continued. The aftermath of the battle with the Vardek left the galaxy in a state of flux. We had averted a disaster, but the fragile alliance between humanity and the Valorians was no longer just about peaceful cooperation, it was about survival, trust, and mutual respect. The events of the past months had forged a new kind of bond between us, one that would forever alter the way we viewed the universe. Despite the victory, the galaxy had become more dangerous. The Vardek were not the only faction with ambitions of control. There were others, older and far more secretive, who had watched our eyes with a mixture of fear and envy. Some were content to let us share the galaxy, others would not stand idly by as humanity's influence spread. One such faction had been lurking in the shadows for millennia, the Ralton, a race of shadowy, psionically gifted beings who had manipulated galactic events from behind the scenes. The Ralton had remained hidden, believing themselves to be the true architects of the galaxy's destiny. They had never anticipated that humanity, fragile, young, and unpredictable, would become a force powerful enough to challenge their centuries-old control. We had made an enemy of the Ralton without even knowing it. It began with subtle signs, anomalies in communication systems, unexplained disturbances in the fabric of space. The Valorians, ever the diplomats, attempted to open a dialogue with the Ralton, but their responses were cryptic, their motivations unclear. What was apparent, however, was that they viewed humanity as a threat, not because of our military might, but because of our untapped potential. The Ralton were afraid of what we might become if left unchecked. I received a message from the Valorian High Command one evening, transmitted through encrypted channels. Lyskal's voice was tense. "Human," he said, "we have uncovered something that you must see. The Ralton are moving. They are preparing something vast, something that will tip the balance of power in this galaxy. We have been too slow to react, and now we need your help. You've faced impossible odds before, but this is different." We gathered our most trusted advisors, Valorian and human alike, and met in the council room of the flagship, the hum of the ship's engines vibrating through the walls. The tension was palpable, a familiar feeling. We had faced the unknown before, but this was something far more dangerous. The Ralton were not an enemy we could fight with guns or ships. Their strength lay in their minds, their ability to manipulate reality itself. They control the fabric of space, Lyskal explained. They can warp time and space, create illusions, alter perception. They could destroy entire fleets without firing a single shot. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. If the Ralton were to deploy their full power, the galaxy would be at their mercy. We would be nothing more than pawns in their game. But there was hope. We had one advantage the Ralton didn't anticipate: our unity. We had learned to work together, not just as separate species, but as partners. Our bond had grown stronger with every challenge, every victory. The Valerians, despite their centuries of dominance, had begun to see the value in humanity's unpredictable nature. And now, that unpredictability might be our greatest weapon. A plan was devised. We would infiltrate the heart of Ralton territory, a distant system known only as the Shadowed Expanse, where their power was said to be concentrated. It was a dangerous mission, but the stakes were higher than ever before. I volunteered to lead the mission, not because of any special skills, but because the Valerians had come to trust me. I had proven myself in the heat of battle, and now, more than ever, they needed someone who understood both the human spirit and the Valorian way of thinking. Together, we would face the Ralton on their own turf. The journey to the Shadowed Expanse was long, and the closer we got, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The stars around us flickered, as if afraid to shine too brightly in the presence of the Ralton. It was as if reality itself had been twisted by their will. Upon arrival, our fleet was met with an eerie silence. No ships, no signs of life, only the oppressive darkness that seemed to stretch endlessly before us. We had entered their domain. Our first encounter with the Ralton was not a battle, but a confrontation of minds. They spoke not in words, but in images, memories, and feelings that seeped into our minds. It was as if they were testing us, probing our thoughts and emotions, seeking our weaknesses. I could feel their presence inside my mind, their cold, calculating awareness. I had to fight to hold on to my sense of self, to remind myself that I was human, that we were human, and that we could not be reduced to mere pawns. Lyskal's voice broke through the psychic haze. "We must stand united," he said, his tone unwavering. "The Ralton seek to divide us, to make us doubt ourselves. But together, we are stronger than they could ever comprehend." It was then that I understood the true nature of our strength. The Ralton might control the fabric of reality, but they could not control the heart of humanity. Our ability to adapt, to evolve, to overcome, this was what made us powerful. This was what made us a threat. The battle that followed was not one of physical might, but of mental fortitude. The Ralton attempted to twist our perceptions, to warp our senses, to make us doubt everything we knew. But we fought back, not with weapons, but with the sheer force of will. We focused on the one thing that the Ralton could never replicate: our emotions. Our bonds, our love, our rage, our hope. These were things they could not understand, things they could not control. And in that moment, we realized something that would change the galaxy forever: our greatest weapon was not our technology, but our humanity. With that understanding, we pressed on. We fought the Ralton not in the physical realm, but in the realm of the mind. And in the end, we broke their hold over us. When the battle was over, the Ralton were no more. Their influence shattered, their control of reality crumbled. The galaxy was free from their manipulations, and humanity had once again proven that no force, no matter how ancient or powerful, could stand against the spirit of mankind.